So in this video we are going to be looking at a guide to costing a job. Now we're going to be using the same papers that we used on the scheduling question because you do need some of the information from that. I will post the link to the scheduling question in the description below. So what we're going to look at, we're going to be looking at standing costs, running costs, depreciation if it comes into it, tyres and fuel costs, how much a driver costs, and of course to work out a profit. The good thing about these questions is they are very fair in their marking. Now if you get one part of it wrong, you still get the points for the rest of that question, given that the information was correct. Now you'll lose a point for your total being wrong, you'll lose a point for the part that you got wrong. However, as long as everything else is correct, you will still get a point, meaning don't throw it away if you're struggling on this question. So question 3 has asked us to calculate the overall cost for a journey to the named destinations and the amount of profit markup to be added to these costs. People overthink this. Now you are not required to provide separate costs for each destination. So once we know the overall mileage, we use that to calculate the cost. You're not working out every individual one. You must name each cost and give a total for each. So it's a nice, simple, itemised list. Keep it simple, follow the format that's on the paper and you won't go wrong. And you must show all your workings and give your answers to the nearest 1 pence. So we're going to keep this one very simple and we're going to use the figures that we got from the scheduling question. So one of the first bits of information that we're going to write down is the distance that we covered. Now the distance that we covered was 690 kilometres. I'm going to change that font colour. Alright, so we're going to use that figure because that's going to come in handy for us. Now that we've noted down the distance, we're going to go back and have a look at the table of costs that it gave us in the case study itself. Now, using this table, all we're going to do is follow this line down and we'll be able to work out all our costs. That will give us a nice itemised list. Do it in the same order, highlight it as you go along because remember this goes in the bin. You don't keep this part anyway. Highlight it as you go along, you'll know what bits you've done, you won't miss anything and you won't go wrong. So the very first one we're going to look at is the vehicle and trailer leases and other standing costs. Now it's saying here 119.83 per day or part day. Why do you think it says that? Well, it's telling us that because we know from the scheduling question that we couldn't do it in 1 day. So you're being charged for the part day, so it makes it nice and simple. Because it was more than 1 day, we charge it as 2. So we take that 119.83, 119.83, multiply it by 2, gives us 239.66. So using the list we have in the case study, all I've done is I've copied down every item that is on the list. So we have the vehicle and trailer lease and other standing costs at £239.66. Driver's wages, let's go back and see. Driver's wages, 125 per day or part day. So as we know, it's more than 1 day, which means it's counting as 2. Driver's wages, 125 times 2, nice and easy, £250 for driver's wages. So now that we're on the tyre cost, we do have a bit of maths to do here. Now the tyre costs, we know it costs 4,800 per vehicle combination. So 4,000, give me a second, that will be 4,800. And the expected tyre life is 30,000 kilometres. So we divide that by 30,000. And that means it costs us 16 pence per kilometre for your tyres. And the journey is 690 kilometres. So multiply that by 690, gives us £110.40 for your journey on tyres. Now remember it did ask to see our workings, so this is how you would record it. So we did the math, but we need to show them how we came to the answer. So tyres, 4,800 divided by 30,000 kilometres gives us 16 pence per kilometre. We take that figure of 690 and multiply it by the 16 pence, gives us £110.40 for tyres. So let's move on to fuel. With the fuel, we've also got another bit of simple math to do. So with that, I'm going to open the calculator. Now, looking at the fuel price, we have £1.12 per litre. So £1.12. We're going to divide that by the economy. So fuel consumption, 8 kilometres per litre. So divided by 8 gives us 0.14. Now remember, we started with £1, so that will be £0.14, and that is the cost per kilometre. Then we multiply that by the 690 figure, which is our total kilometres for that journey. So multiplied by 690 equals £96.60. So we've worked out the figure, but we do need to show our workings as well, as I said. So we have the £1.12 per litre divided by 8 gives us 14 pence per kilometre, multiplied by the distance gives us the total figure for the journey. Next, we'll look at maintenance. So nice and easy one here on the maintenance. So maintenance costs, we have 24 pence per kilometre. So 0.24, because we're doing it in pounds. Then we multiply that by that figure, 690, gives us £165.60 on maintenance for that journey. Next on the list, we have the driver's overnight allowance. So this one we're not multiplying by 2 because it was done over 2 days, which was only one rest period taken away from base. So the cost for that is £30. So the next thing we're going to do is we are going to work out our total figure here. So all we're doing is adding all these numbers together, and that will give us £892.26. And that is all we are doing for that part of the question. Now that we've recorded that part of the answer, what we're going to do is look at the next part of it. Calculate the amount of profit markup to be added to the total cost to AH of the deliveries and collections described in the case study. So, how much of a profit markup do we add? We're not doing this by memory, we're going to go back and we're going to check, and we are looking, there we go, 20%. So, 20%, so we're going to go back to that figure, £892.26. How do we find out 20% of that? Well, all we do is we multiply it by 0.2. So 892.26 multiplied by 0.2 equals 178.452. Now we've got an extra number in there. What are we going to do with that? Remember, it told us to round it to the nearest penny, not pound, penny. So the nearest penny would be £178.45, and that will be our profit markup for part B in that question. So, and here we will put £178.45. That answers that. Now we just have one more part of that question to answer, then we can move on. So, calculate the amount that AH should charge its customers per pallet delivered. Notice the word delivered, right? That one there could catch people out. So let's go up and we'll have a look. So what we need to do is we need to see how many pallets are being delivered. Not collected, not loaded, but delivered. Okay, so the trailer will be loaded with 26 pallets. Are we charging for them yet? No, we're not, because they've not been delivered. Further 15 are to be collected. We're not charging for them yet because they've not been delivered. Deliveries. This is a bit that is relevant. Deliveries are required to, in alphabetical order. Carapron, the 15. Delia, 13 and Everprol 13. So let's add that up. We have 15 add 13 add 13 tells us we have 41 pallets. Now we need to know the total, and then we're going to divide that by 41. So to get the total, we are going to add these two numbers together. So we've got a total cost, 892.26. We're going to add that to the 178.45. Okay, so 178.45 add. Now you don't need to write this bit down because it's only asked us to tell you what the charge is. 892.26. $892.26, and that is going to give us a figure of £1,070.71, and then we are going to divide that by the amount of pallets that we delivered. So £1,070.71 divided by 41 gives us a figure of £26.11487 blah blah blah. Okay, so we're focused on the first three digits there, so it's £26.11, and then because the 4 is under 5, we're rounding it down a way, so £26.11 per pallet is what is to be charged, with our profit markup included. And that is how you would score a full points on that question. When you keep it simple and follow the list, it is very simple going. Now, as I said, if you get any of these figures wrong, you won't lose all your points for the full question. They were actually very generous on this one, and if you did the route another way, they were still giving you the points on the finance question. You can't get any fairer than that. So as I said, if you get one of these figures wrong, your total will be wrong, but as long as the rest of it's right, you will still get the points for that question. As I said, it's a very fair way of doing it, and if you look at this, 10 marks on the first part, 1 mark on that one, and 1 mark on that one. 12 points on the finance question. You only needed 30 to pass. You're nearly halfway there just by answering this one question correctly.